Hi, welcome to episode 438 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Twitter and Instagram. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarns and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, August 28th, and I can hardly believe we are almost to September. Friday is September 1st, and among other things in the fountain pen and planning world, which is where I spend some of my time, September 1st is Hobonichi Day, the day that Hobonichi planners show off their 2024 planners and notebook covers. And while I am not specifically a Hobonichi fan, I like their planners, but there are other planners that work better for me. It's kind of the beginning of planner season, like picking your planner for next year, figuring out what works for you. I use a variety of fountain pens and tools, and so it's almost like back to school shopping for adults a little bit. So I wrote an article about that this morning for a fountain pen and office supplies blog that I participate in called The Well-Appointed Desk, and so I'm all in the spirit. So let's see what else. The weather, it has finally cooled. Our heat spell of 100 plus degree weather finally broke last Friday, and it is now in the 80s, which sounds warm, but it actually is really glorious. I got outside to exercise this weekend, and just in general, it doesn't feel like walking out into an oven. So I think that's kind of the most relevant things to share here. I have some knitting for you today and some spinning, and I finished up a sewing project and I'm starting to think about my next. And I have some tea, and so let's get right into it. So today I am drinking Peach Bellini, which is a tea that came out this year from Republic of Teas. I really like their teas. Many of them you can buy loose leaf. This happens to be just available in tea bags, so it's just a canister of unbleached tea bags. And what I really like is they pack their shipments with the waste, so they cut out those circular tea bags, and like all the cuttings around it, all the paper around it, that's what they use to pack your packages. So it's nice that they are sort of reusing things, and then it can easily be recycled. This is black tea, peach, and essence of champagne. I don't notice the essence of champagne so much. Mostly what I notice, I was looking to see if they actually have a list of ingredients. Black tea, natural peach, apricot, vanilla cream, and champagne flavors, organic monk fruit, and peach bits. What I like about this is it tastes like summer peaches. And it's funny that they said there's vanilla cream in there, because I actually decided to add a little bit of vanilla creamer. So I am generally not a person who likes milk in my tea. And I figured out maybe it's because what I actually like makes it a little bit thicker, and so I've been putting a little bit of vanilla cream in a lot of my teas, and that adds just a little bit of sweetness, which I like, and then it also adds a little bit of creamy. So I'm actually drinking my tea fortified today in my Oy Vey all day mug, and it is lovely summer peach. Even though the weather has, ooh, that's really good. I hadn't tried that yet, but I was eager to. I figured it would be a little bit peaches and creamish, and it totally is. I hadn't, what was I going to say? Oh, even though the weather has cooled a little bit, it's still the end of summer here, so I felt like a peach tea was nice and summery. Really, it wasn't that important anymore. So let's talk about the knits. I have made some progress that I can show you in the knits, and I also brought something extra to show you today. So first of all, let's talk about the sweater that I am knitting for my nephew, Miles. This is the Hearthstone pattern by Isolde Teague. It comes sized, I believe the smallest is 12 months, and the largest goes into adult sizes. So it is a really large size range, kind of for anyone you know. And it is knit in DK or worsted, I think it's DK weight, and I am using Malabrigo Rios, which is a really beautiful DK weight yarn that comes, I think, 210 yards to the skein, and I'm using the colorway Cereza, which means cherry in Spanish. And I actually got to the point that it's starting to look like a sweater. So I did each of the sleeves, and then I worked on the body up to the armholes, and then I went ahead and joined in the round, and I have just started the cables. So last week I was at about 9 inches. I needed to knit a few more inches on the body, and then I could kind of join everything in the round, and I have done that, and so it is looking a little bit sweater-like for those of you like me who knit sweaters. Here is where I'm at. So I have just joined the sleeves, and I have just done the first round of cables. You really can't see it very well here. Really not much at all, but I have done the first round of cables, and now the cables are going to center around the raglan decreases, and so I'm going to work on that for a while. And my hope actually is that by the time I see you next week, that I'm done. Because basically all I have to do is knit from kind of where the armhole joins here up to the neck, and of course my stitches are decreasing on every other round. And so I'm really excited about this, and I'm very ready to have it finished. The birthday boy won't be turning, he'll be turning 7 in October, so I have a little while, but I would really like to get this finished, and I like to get my ducks in a row, and I need to start on my holiday gifts. So as I said, the colorway is Cereza. I think this is a pretty good interpretation of it. It's just a little bit mottled, kettle dyed solid, so you get a little bit of variation in it, but it really just looks really, really pretty, and I'm very excited. And I should have enough yarn. I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on this project. I looked at the yardage required. I misordered a little bit because I have a little bit less, but I still have almost, well, I guess not full of my 2 skeins, but very close to, well, one I just started, because, okay, the pattern in this size calls for about 900 yards of yarn, I think, maybe 950, and I have 840 based on the 210 yards to a skein. I bought 4 skeins, and I have been alternating skeins. So I basically wound up 2 skeins and alternated those, and then I wound up the last 2 skeins and alternated those. And I just, because I tend to knit a lot of the ribbing in one color and then start alternating as I'm doing the stockinette sections, I just added in the 4th skein. So I've used a little bit of the 3rd already, but almost none of the 4th. So I should have plenty to finish this sweater. I'm not worried about it, which probably means I'll run out, because usually when I'm crazy worried about it, I don't. And when I'm not worried about it, I do. There's a little Murphy's Law for you. So, yeah. So I'm really excited about this. I should be able to show you more, and there will be fewer ends sticking out. I've actually woven in most of my ends. Basically, I'm at the point where I just need to finish the top, and then the last thing I'll need to do is graft the underarms together, but everything else is already finished, and while I have not trimmed my ends, I have woven in any ends that I can so far, so that when I'm done, I'm really almost done. I just have the last couple to weave in. So that is living in my Kansas City yarn crawl bag from a couple of years ago, which I love. It's got all the animals on a bike, which is really fun. And so that is one of my works in progress. Another of my works in progress that I showed you a couple weeks ago was that I was starting the purple socks in my rainbow of socks for Knit the Rainbow, and I actually have the first one done. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited to be halfway there, and I have already started on the second one. I'll show you that in just a second. So this is kind of a toe-up sock. I am working in Dream in Color Classy in the colorway Divine, which is a divine purple. It looks kind of violet on here. It is a really dark kind of regal royal purple. See, that's a little bit better. It's coming out so dark on the monitor, but it's not quite that dark here. Anyway, so what I did is I did my Judy's Magic cast on toe and kind of rounded that, and then I worked through the foot, and then I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which is just a short row heel here. I actually haven't done these on most of my socks because generally I prefer a gusset and heel flap, but I just decided what the heck, I'm gonna do a short row heel, and so I did, and then I knit up and I did a 2x2 ribbing, and these are probably size medium. They are definitely too big for my small sock form because I have size small feet, but I've been trying to add a variety of sock sizes so that they will be able to use my socks sort of over a variety of adult sizes. So the first one is done, and I am almost to the heel on the second one. So I have about 10 more rows, 10 more rounds to do on the second sock. Started at the toe again, and then I will do my short row heel, and then I will match the leg, and then I will be done with 6 pairs of socks this year to donate to Knit the Rainbow. And it looks like they are opening up and starting to take donations again, so you can find more information on that at knittherainbow.org. And they will accept monetary donations, they will accept donations of warm winter goods to fit a variety of young adult and adult sizes, and you can find more information on their webpage. So I'm very excited about that. I don't know what my challenge will be for next year. Like, it's almost time to start thinking about challenges again. You know, I'm already starting to think about planners. Why not? But I am getting ready to send a box. I have a few hats that I've knitted, and then all of these socks. So those will definitely go to Knit the Rainbow shortly. Usually what I do is I wait till I have a good number of things to donate. I kind of start knitting all year long, and then when the fall rolls around, I get a whole bunch of priority mailboxes. And for those who are in the US, we have a certain size of box. Well, we have several sizes of boxes where you can just basically pay a flat fee no matter how much it weighs. And so I wait and I get those boxes in the fall, and I just stuff them full of knitted goods, as many as I can stuff in there, and tape the box shut, and then send those off to my donation causes. So I have a variety of hats, and then the final thing that I do is each year I go through my drawers to find any of my knitted items that aren't getting as much love as they should. So if they are very gently worn, but I find that they just didn't fit into my wardrobe, I wash them all, and then I go ahead and donate those as well. So I have a couple shawls that I'll donate this year. I think there's a sweater that I put in the donation box, and I have maybe half a dozen causes that I work with, and I just figure out what is best to go to each, put everything in the boxes, send them off, and then the coffers are empty, and it's time to do it again for the next year. So, and then I get into phases. Those of you who have been with me for a little while have seen my, like, knit all the hats phase, where I use up all my scraps on hats. I might do scrappy projects next year. Maybe that will be the good way to use up a lot of what I have left. But so that's kind of what's on the needles right now. The other thing I have been spending time doing this week, and I just wanted to show you because it's a little bit of some of what I do in my free time, the projects that I don't bring and show you. I work for the City Girl Farm, which is an artist studio here in Kansas City. They are the home of the original chicken footstool. We make chicken footstools out of wood and brass and then wool. And so you can check them out there at thecitygirlfarm.com. And there actually are some footstools available for adoption right now. I will warn you, these are sculptural art pieces. They are not really, I mean, technically you could use it as a footstool, but they definitely have a lot of artisan craftsmanship in them. And I do a little bit of spinning for them, but I do quite a bit of knitting for them. Basically, chickens are usually covered in either knit or felted bits of wool. And if they're knit bits of wool, then I have a lot to do with them, and I don't have anything to do with the felted side. But so we are working on a chicken that is stripy right now. And so this weekend, I actually had to come up with a pattern for some wing units. So these are just, I know they look almost like jail stripes, but they're black and white striped, and I just came up with kind of a chicken wing to go along the side of the chicken, and now I need to block these, and these were sort of based on something that I saw on a previous chicken. And then the other thing that I'm making is I'm making all these little feather stacks, which I have shown you before. I am making all these little feather stacks to go all over the chicken body, and so I am working on a lot of those. Most of the chickens that I do in this manner, these are called the royal chickens. I don't know specifically why, that's just the name they adopted for them, and it denotes basically this pinstripe of two colors. Most of them are white and another color, and so I've done white and red, I've done white and brown, I did white and pink, we've done white and gray, but this time we're just doing white and black. Very, very classical chicken look. So that is a little bit, I have two wings and a couple bits of feathers, and it's time to wash and block those now so that I can return those later this week. So the final thing I wanted to show you is, because I got partway through, I made such great progress on the socks this week, I wanted to start thinking about what I would work on next. And this year is going to be a year of socks. The children, my niece and nephew, have asked for socks for Christmas. My mom asked for a pair of socks. I don't know if I'm going to knit everyone a pair of socks. I haven't decided yet. But I decided that it was time to get started on socks. So I wound up my next cake of sock yarn. And this is Ba La Jolla, which I found on sale at a knitting shop that I love. Now, this yarn is 100% superwash merino wool. It does not have any nylon in it. So for some people, that would be not appropriate for sock yarn. I don't know that I would knit socks for myself in 100% superwash merino at this point. I generally like a little bit of nylon in them. And I find that they wear better. That said, the kids' socks have a very short life, probably a half-life, because the kids are growing like weeds, and so they grow out of them really honestly. They wear them for one season, which is, you know, basically, they probably wear their wool socks between about November and March, and then they're basically done with them, and oftentimes they don't fit for the next season. So my thought is that I was just going to go ahead and knit them in superwash, and it doesn't matter. The nice thing about superwash is, even though it's artisan yarn, or it's indie dyed yarn, and most people would say you should hand wash these. I just buy superwash merino and tell my sister to throw them in the wash with all the kids' other stuff. I don't think she's had much of a problem with them shrinking or felting, and again, the kids don't wear them that long, so it's like 5 months of wash and wear, and then sometimes they can be passed to the next kid, sometimes they can't, just depends. But I don't mind. I just like knitting for them and fun. And part of the reason that I still use kind of fancy sock yarns is because I can actually get 2 pairs of, they're still small enough that I can get 2 pairs of socks from one ball of sock yarn. I have really small feet. My feet are size 6.5. And then the kids are, well, they'll be 7 and 10 this year. So I can still get, even for Roxy, who's turning 10, I can still get 2 pairs of socks out of one ball of sock yarn, one for her, one for me. So I don't care if I buy a slightly more expensive sock yarn, or I can use the leftover skein for something else that I'm working on. So that is a long way to say that I am using Ba La Jolla 100% superwash merino, 400 yards, 115 grams, and the colorway that I got is called Tickled Pink. My niece loves pink. It's one of her favorite colors. She also is really into teal right now, so she's after her aunt's own heart, because teal is one of my favorites. My nephew told me he really, really, really loves pink, and he really wanted something pink. And so I decided not to do a pink sweater because I wasn't sure if pink will still be the favorite when he gets it a few months from now. And I just wasn't sure that I wanted to commit to that, but pink socks, I can totally do that. So when a yarn shop that I really like was having a sale over, when did I picked it up over the summer. It was one of their summer sales. I picked up this colorway called Tickled Pink, and it's got like cherry red pink and a little bit of coral pink and a little bit of bubblegum Barbie pink, and it is just a really fun colorway, and I thought it would be nice for socks, and so I'm gonna knit him a pair of socks out of this, and then I will use the leftovers to make something for myself, because this is definitely a color that I'm enjoying right now. So that is what's going on there. If I finish the purple socks, I will likely cast these on this week. My plan is basically to have a pair of socks on the needles between now and Christmas time, or until I finish everybody's socks that I need to make. So you will see lots of socks in the coming weeks. Not so many for myself, but lots and lots of gifts. So that is the first pair of the holiday sockening that I plan to start this year. So that is everything in the knitting category. I thought I would take just a brief moment to talk a little bit about sewing, and then I will go on to spinning. So quick sip of tea. And let's move on. Last week I showed you about a sewing project that I was working on. And I was working on making myself a bucket hat. And I showed you the different pieces and talked about kind of the traps and pitfoils. Pitfoils? That's not right, is it? I can't remember. I'm going to have to look that up. Do you ever say a word to yourself and then you're like, that's not the right word? I talked about the trials and tribulations of sewing a hat and the new skills that I learned, and I actually finished the hat. So here is the hat. It's really super cute. It is a little bit big on me, so I will have to look at, if I make it again, how I can cut down the pattern pieces so that they will fit my head. It's not quite the same as knitting in that you can just cast on fewer stitches, because the hat comes in kind of a round top piece and then a band that goes around the center and then the bucket part that goes around the outside. So if I shrink the top circle, then I have to shrink all of these other things, and they kind of have to be graded in context. And while I understand some simple grading for knitting, for sewing, I have no idea. So I will be experimenting in the future, but I really, really love this cute hat, and I'm really excited about it. So I used some Missouri Star fabric, and I think I showed you last week, but let me find out where there's a logo. Okay, there's a logo right here. Missouri Star had some fabric designed for its 15th anniversary, which is this year, and Missouri Star Quilt Co. is now my employer. So little company advertising. They had some fabric designed for their 15th birthday year, anniversary year, in the Missouri Star colors, which are kind of teal and a slightly lighter green and kind of this corally orange and yellow, and so that is the outside fabric, and you can see that I actually lined my seams up here. I'm very proud of that. I'm also proud of the fact that I quilted this brim here, and then on the inside I have Chuck the Duck fabric, and Chuck the Duck is the Missouri Star mascot. So the things that I did since last time are I needed to kind of re-sew the top of the hat because I had a little bit of fabric that was sticking, that I didn't quite catch in my seam. Then I had to sew the top of the hat, kind of the hat part, down to the bucket brim. And when I did that, I then also had to create some bias binding to enclose the seam so that technically this hat is reversible. So this was a lot of skills on this little hat. And as I said, it's a little bit big on me, but it does fit and it's super cute, and it will keep the sun off my face, which I'm really excited about. And I plan to wear it at Birthday Bash, which is the 15th anniversary celebration coming up in a few weeks. And I'm just really excited to have this one done, which means it's time to work on a new project. And I ordered supplies for that today, and I will talk to you about that when they come in and talk a little bit about what I'm going to try and tackle next in my sewing journey. So really, really happy with this. It's a free pattern from Art Gallery Fabrics. I guess I will add a sewing section to my I will add a small sewing section to my show notes over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and I will link the fabric and the pattern and the video that I used to make this hat. So that is that one. Let's talk about spinning. So there's not a lot to talk about in spinning. I did finish my spin, which was, this one was called Godspeed, and it is Rambouillet, and it was from Classy Squid Fiber Company, and it came out really nice. I was afraid that the colors were going to get muddy because the colors are red, yellow, and brown, and then there's a little bit of areas where the fiber was a little bit white or very palely dyed, but I really like how it came out. I have sections where the colors matched each other, so where you see yellow on yellow. I have sections where they overlapped, sections where the red was really light, so it almost creates a pink, sections where the red and yellow almost create a little bit of an orange or a barber pole section, the dark chocolate brown parts. I'm really excited about the skein. It is 367 yards of a super squishy sport weight, and it will be up in the shop by the time this podcast goes live. So it is there if you want to check it out. It would be super fun. It is not superwash, so it could felt, but it would be fun for socks or just about anything. It's just super fun and cheerful. Even though it's not usually my colors, I really, really like the way this one came out. So I moved on to merino from Hello Yarn. I showed you this last week, and this is only half because I have half spun. This is Little Garden, and it is 70s merino. And I said last week that I wasn't sure where the 70s came from, and a more knowledgeable spinner than I, or a more knowledgeable shepherd or wool expert, came and told me that 70s refers to a Bradford scale, which is a different scale than when you count microns of the fiber, how wide the fiber is. And microns determines kind of softness, where really small numbers means very soft fiber, and really big numbers means, wait, am I getting that right? Yeah. the softer it is, the finer the fiber is, or sorry, the thinner it is, the finer the fiber is, which means it's much softer, and then the thicker it is, the more rustic it is, the more the individual strands are thicker and they're more hardy, but they also feel a little bit rougher. So this is 70s merino, and she said it would translate to about 18 micron or somewhere around there, which means this is a really nice, fine, soft merino, and it is lovely to spin up. And again, I have the yellow in here. Maybe I'm on a yellow kick, but it is just really nice, almost fall colors. And so I have the first bit spun up. This is the first 2 ounces, and it's on an Acreworks bobbin. I spun this on my Ashford Joy treadle wheel. And I will spin the other half this week and then hopefully ply them before I talk to you next. So, and that will eventually be going into the shop. So that's what's going on in spinning news this week. So I think that's all I have to talk to you about. Next weekend is the Labor Day holiday here in the United States, which means Monday is a bank holiday and I get that off work. So I'm looking forward to 3 days of crafting. I will definitely still do a podcast. I probably won't have started my new sewing project yet because I just ordered supplies this morning. I am trying to keep on top of my sewing stash. So as you can see, I have a bit of a fiber and yarn stash, and that's not all of it. And so I have been trying to be really good and disciplined with fabric. I decided that I did not want to buy things because they're pretty or because I want to make something from them someday. I decided that I am buying fabric for projects just as I need it. Now, I know that I will end up with a somewhat small stash of fabrics because just as in knitting, oftentimes you buy an extra skein to make sure you have enough, and you may break into that skein, but you may still have, you know, half that skein left over. So I do have a little bit of fabric left over from my first 2 projects, and so there will definitely be you know, a box of leftover fabrics that eventually, hopefully, I will be able to do something with, but I am trying to buy one project at a time, and so far it is working. Technically, I have 2 projects coming this month, but they're both projects that I'm going to do, like, one of them is a review, so I'll do it as soon as it gets here, and then I will start work on the other one for me. So, we'll see. I'm trying to stay on top of it because I don't need another ridiculously overstocked shelf. So I hope you have a lovely week ahead. It was fun to sit and catch up with you, and I will do that again in a week. So as I always say, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.